community. Here we are, day zero, June 20th. I'm here with a couple friends, and I thought it'd be fun to introduce them to all of you. You might be in line outside. From what I understand, we have thousands of people wrapped around the building waiting to get in, and we are doing our best to get you in, get you registered, get you gifts and your badges and all those things. And I thought it'd be fun just to take a moment to spend some time talking to some friends. Abraham, last year, you were like my co-MC of the live stream goodness. You got to interview a ton of people with me. Yeah. It was a blast. Yep. Why don't you catch our community up on what's happening with you in Wild West and Capital?
Yep. Hey guys, thank you. Ian, thank you so much. So the last year's been quite wild. We have set up a fund that's in the process of being set up in ADGM, Abu Dhabi Global Markets, based out of Cayman. And then that's a $100 million metaverse fund, so we'll be investing in metaverse-focused companies, infrastructure, fintech, DeFi, education, and gaming. The agency, so Wild West Agency was the company that I was running then, is now being ran by Brian. Brian, if you want to give a quick intro.
Sure, Brian Galler, and so I've got some background in IT, about 3 decades in IT, and back in the early 90s, I recognized the transition from Web 1, Web 2, web browsers. Here recently, I've recognized that this paradigm shift to Web 3 feels very, very similar. I wasn't really able to take advantage of that initial paradigm shift. And so I'm on for this ride. I'm not going to miss this one. So yeah, I'm excited about the transition.
So Brian, my first introduction to you was the 3D NFT project you were doing with Internet Computer, the Definity Foundation, with your son. Yep. And I believe, Abraham, you had introduced us, as that was kind of the beginning of me getting to know you. And then now you've transitioned to take the CEO role at Abraham's company, Wild & West, so that he can focus on the capital side. Can you just give us a little idea, what is Wild & West, and how are you serving people in the NFT.NYC community in terms of what you do as an agency?
Sure. As an agency, we're really focused on helping people understand how they can leverage Web3 for their brand, for their products, for themselves, and market themselves. And so we're focused on helping consulting them on what Web3 is, as well as helping them launch full end-to-end project execution of NFT projects and metaverse projects.
Well, why don't you hand the mic to Abraham? Bring it real close, because you're quiet, my friend.
Thank you.
Okay, so have you been home since the NFT.NYC event we did last October?
I have not stepped foot home in Arizona for over 9 months.
So you came here, You've been all over the world, right. And one of the big things that's happened is that you and your team decided to raise a 9-figure fund in order to invest in a couple different areas of the metaverse. So I know that you shared some of that with me at CES, but why don't you give a bit of an update on where's Wild West Capital at? What are you looking to deploy in terms of check size? How do people walk through the DD process? And what are you really looking for in terms of deal flow here? Because people might be watching and looking to raise. So maybe you're an answer and a solution to the thing that they have a problem, which is capital.
Yeah, thank you, Ian. Yeah, so Wild & West Capital has been anchored with 20 million. We're fundraising the next 80 million. We will have our license in about 4 to 6 weeks, hopefully. We are investing into companies that are building metaverse infrastructure, whether that's fintech, DeFi, just general blockchain infrastructure or DLT infrastructure. Then we're heavily focused because we think education and gaming in the metaverse is going to be really, really big, and it's also just an easy use case. So we're investing there as well. Our check sizes are going to be between 500,000 and 5 million, primarily seed and Series A. And then DD process, we have three people sitting on the IC. All 2 of them are phenomenal investors with really great history. I'm kind of the new buck on the block. It goes through a traditional process. And
I'm surprised you didn't say you're the new BOB. because using all these other little letters, maybe not to understand. So DD is due diligence,
Right.
IC is the investment committee,
Correct,
and
right.
you are the BOB, not the buck on the block. Let's get this
funny.
right.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, so we're quite excited. We're excited to be here. NFT.NYC has been really fun every year. And yeah, thank you so much, Ian, for the opportunity.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you'll be here through the rest of this week.
Yep.
And people should look for you. And of course, people can engage with Wild and West as an agency, regardless if Wild and West
Right.
Capital has invested in them.
Yep.
But one of your partners is my friend Paul, and he's right here. Come, Paul. come switch with Brian. I want to introduce everybody to Paul. He's a friend of mine. Paul and I have spent a lot of time together, and I told Paul I wouldn't bring him on the camera, and I lied. I lied, Paul.
There we go.
Here you are. Surprise.
Thank you.
So spent a lot of time with you and your teams and all the different businesses that you're involved in. Obviously, you've had a lot of involvement in Dubai and all over the East Coast, some of the amazing things that you're doing with DC. And so maybe you could just catch me up a bit on what's lighting your fire, what are you excited about in this space, what really kind of makes you lean in on a metaverse project that you say, hey, this is a seed round or an A round that we're interested in investing in for equity?
Yeah, so a little bit stepping back. I met Abraham at an event with you in DC,
Yeah, I
as
introduced
you
you to
recall.
it. That's right.
And I
guess
saw
that makes me the fourth partner.
Absolutely,
so
yeah, you're right.
Awesome,
And you
awesome.
were the great connector in this.
Yes.
And I saw the passion in Abraham's approach to investing, what he had done in the agency, and he was starting to make direct investments. And he was asking me, how would you set up a fund? I want to move into that area.
Right.
And that's what I had done for the last 35 years, working at Harvard Endowment, all the way to ING Group and so forth. So he called me because he had another partner that was considering funding him. And I said to Abraham, why don't we go on a little bit of a journey to Dubai, where I had spent 8 years. And we did. And I'm going to say that the community that I lived in Dubai for 8 years, really embraced Abraham. He's engaged with the government now on innovation, with the Virtual Asset Regulatory Authority. I'm in the older crowd, and the older crowd looks at this next generation, the Gen Zs, the millennials, who are really leaning into this whole area, the metaverse, Web 3.0.
Right.
And instead of being one of those old nerds on the side saying, this is all crazy, doesn't make sense, so why don't we join the party? And the best way to do it is to engage with a guy with high integrity, has a real passion for giving back. And I think everyone knows Abraham's other part of his life and his story out in LA, where you're from, with the Dream Center. And that really caught me, because you really see the convergence of impact people, next generation. And if I can help in any way through my former experiences, skill, capital raising, I'd love to be part of the team.
Love it.
So thanks for that introduction,
Yeah.
Ian. And the journey continues.
And the journey continues. All right, friends, you are released.
Thank you.
I'm gonna find my next victim. You stay right there. Stay right there. We're not going away. Gabe, why don't you come over? Grab John. I'm gonna introduce you guys to a couple of our young speakers. Gabe, why don't you come over here? Grab this.
Hello,
John,
everyone.
why don't you come over here? And why don't the two of you guys share what the experience is like being here compared to both of you were involved last year, and just give the community a bit of an idea of like what's happened over the last 8 months that's got us to this point with 15,000 registered people and I don't know, maybe 30,000 people coming to visit town. They want to hear all about it.
It's quite the fascinating journey. Jonathan and I were here last year. We spoke, and what did you like about last year? What were your favorite things?
About last year was just my new involvement with, NFTs in the new space and just kind of figuring out.
So you
what
are
I thought
into
of it.
music,
Yes,
correct?
correct.
You make music.
I do
So
make
you,
music.
and that's what you'll be talking about, music. What
Yeah.
do you think is in store for the music side of NFTs?
Yeah, I just think it's a just and fair way for monetization, independent and signed big artists.
Yeah.
A way to, put out songs and make them be more than songs. Make them be, sell a stem of your song and make that be a part of somebody
or
else's
some
song.
sort of a
or-
crowdfunding mechanism, I think, could be quite interesting.
No doubt.
To crowdfund or start, if you want to
Yeah.
pay for an album, release 10, sell them for 0.2, 0.5 ETH.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's quite interesting. Let's talk a little bit about the event right here
Yeah.
that we're with. Look at all these amazing people we have here gathered. There was a lot of people here last year, but there's definitely overflowing. The line
The
is
lines
literally
are ridiculous.
2 blocks down. all the way to the left.
And then they
Good
come
luck-
in here and get another line that wraps
Good
around
luck
the
getting
hotel.
in. NFTs are crossing the chasm. They are
Making the leap.
They are making the leap. And so I'll talk about a little bit about what I'm talking about. Is I'm talking about the future. I spoke last year as the youngest speaker, speaking about some of the things I've done in the space, and also I work for Ian as head of product in NFTs. And so I'd like to talk about sort of product-y. I'd like to talk about UX, sort of mainstream adoption. How are we going to get from 30 million users to a billion? And how are we going to support that and make it easy and make a super simple onboarding process that's easy, pretty, sexy, gets the job done. Grandma can do it, little sister can do it.
Yeah.
So it's not just, because it's pretty fascinating the traction that we have at the moment, given how difficult it really is to purchase a digital asset. You know how many you gotta
So
buy
many
the
clicks.
ETH, transfer it, have Coinbase,
Yeah.
have a wallet, MetaMask, all these different things. And one of the really cool companies that I've seen is MoonPay with their NFT onboarding is pretty interesting.
Right.
And so I think the simplification of the user experience and to make it be pretty streamlined and super easy so that a 6-year-old can buy a digital asset. Just like 8-year-olds nowadays can go on Amazon and buy stuff. It needs to be that easy so that they can go on, buy whatever they want, peace out. But yeah.
So you were the youngest speaker last year.
Yes, I
And
was.
you're speaking this year.
Yes,
So
I
how
am.
do you feel coming into this year as opposed to last year before you spoke?
I definitely feel a lot better this year, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Last year was quite terrifying, honestly. Just being
So you feel
18.
better this
Yeah, I
time?
feel a lot better. Just
More
'cause
seasoned?
It was like, yeah, definitely more seasoned. Because I've spoken a couple more places in between now and then. It was my first time really getting on stage and, having a presentation and then displaying your thoughts, which is kind of a scary concept because you're displaying your thoughts in front of everyone else.
Yeah.
So you don't know how they're gonna think.
Yeah.
and so-
NFT space is best.
Yeah,
Too.
no, honestly, it's one of the best places to explain whatever your thoughts are or what you're thinking about the space, because you're not going to necessarily be wrong, because none of us actually truly know what's in store for the future. We're all speculating and have an idea about
Right.
where things might end up and land, but it's the Wild West. And so
Yes, it is.
and so, yeah, this year I'm definitely, I feel more prepared. I feel ready, matured a little.
Yeah. So I'm feeling the way that you felt last year. Because
Oh,
this is
yeah?
my first time.
Yeah, you'll do great though.
Yeah. No pressure.
No pressure. Ted, is this live?
Live.
On
are
the
live?
channel?
We're live on the channel right now.
Are we still going?
Yep.
All right. So what else?
Amazing.
Is
It is wild how many more people are here.
yeah, I know.
I'm actually shook.
Yeah.
So the Marriott is a unit right now.
I know. Last year, I believe it was at Margaritaville. Now we are at the Marriott Marquis, which is a super awesome venue. They have amazing food, cool people. Everyone is picking up their passes. Definitely should, if you're coming down, or if you didn't make it this year, you definitely need to come next
Pre-register.
year.
Yes.
Definitely, if you don't make it this year, come next year. But if you need to register, come to the Marriott Marquis. We'll get you all registered. Maybe you can get interviewed. That would be a lot of fun. We're here doing interviews on the YouTube channel. So
All right.
whenever you guys are ready to come down, let's hang out and talk shop and talk about NFTs and
Yeah, come see
blockchain
us.
and crypto and the future and all those good things.
Lots to talk about. No doubt.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, we're good.
All right. Sounds good.
You're out of here.
All right.
Get out of here. You, get out of here. All right, I'm going to bring in another friend. This is Raymond St. Martin.
Hey everybody.
So, Raymond, why don't we start by you were at all of our events. Very first one, February 2019.
Oh yeah.
So, why don't you give the folks an idea, like, how has this transformed over the last 4 years? Obviously at our first two events, we had less people combined than we see behind us right now.
Easily.
So talk a bit about the journey of what you've seen with the NFT community in context of NFT.NYC.
Well, I think what I love about the NFT crew, and I've told you this and told the crowd here before, what I love about the NFT community at the core is its artists. And in 2019, it was amazing because you had this really creative crowd of people that was all realizing there was this technology out there that could be used in new and different ways. And it was all artists figuring out ways to bring new art to the world in different ways, but also protect themselves, right? To create something that they'd have a royalty to. They've seen artists sell their work for $10 that gets resold by multimillionaires for hundreds of millions of dollars, and nothing in it for them or their families or their estates, right? And so it was cool to be around that, and I've told you this before. I felt like I was finally home. Like, it's hard in tech. You know, tech is there's so many levels of and types of people like in this ecosystem and the multiple like ecosystem of tech. And I felt like the NFT crowd was the people that were creating came together in 2019, led by Jody. I mean, Jody had this vision and laid out, I don't know, probably...
I remember when Jody told us, one day we're going to have 10,000 people, we're going to rent all the billboards. I'm like, that's great, Jody. Now he's like, now we're going to have 100,000 people, and it just gets bigger
insane,
and bigger.
Right? But I mean, Jody had the vision.
Yeah, he did.
I mean, he spent probably $1 million...
He had a cell phone when he was in 1983. Homeboy's a futurist.
Without a doubt, without a doubt. And then, 2020, you started to see some maturity. But I remember sitting here with our CTO at Asayo. I was here with Ryan, who's, he's been in enterprise tech for a long time, built amazing things for eBay and PayPal, architected some of the systems that we're still using today in our pockets, right? At scale. And so he's sitting there, he's listening to everything, and OpenSea's talking about like what they're going to become and how they're going to do this, how they're going to sell it. And he looked at their receivables. He's like, well, they've made 130 grand this year. He's like, let me know when they're in the at least making 10 million a year. And now they're making literally
more
billions. So. And then that was where it was in 2020. It was like now you start to see some structure. Coinbase was here and kind of like talking about how they might get into this space and how Ethereum would work. And then 2021 just didn't happen early because of COVID, right? Like I think COVID started here in 2020. Like literally, I think the Europeans that came in and then went home.
Here, February 2020 here in DC, and people couldn't get home, and
it was insane.
I drove home instead of flew home.
It was like the outbreak occurred. Like right after this.
For America, it kind of was catalyzed here.
Yeah, so there was no 2021. So what happened during COVID? Builders built, creators created, communities were built online. People started Zooming more. They started paying more attention to technology. NFTs started to take off. And then early 2021, there was no NFT.NYC, while everything was going crazy. And then 2021, we come here, everyone's kind of huddling up again, like, oh, this is good to see you. And now 2021, I was walking with our VP of Biz Dev. We were walking around the block, to get in line here today. And I looked at him and just laughed. And I said, NFTs are dead, right? As I was looking at 15,000 people lining up to get into this event. So it's just...
Is there a long line outside?
Bro, a long line.
It's serious when your friend goes, bro.
It's you can see this line hasn't stopped. There's still people all the way back.
Yeah, this is like 4 hours and going.
Yeah, it is. So it's been great to see that. I'm excited for this year because I feel like the builders are here. I feel like the artists are at the core. They started something amazing. They're a part of what's being built. Their teams are here to build, and I think this will be what I'm hoping to get out of this conference is to connect with the people like I just did recently, just in the corner right there, who are interested in building the railroads that are going to connect everything. Like back in the day when it was horse and buggy across the country until there was a railroad. And the railroad opened up the cattle industry in the Midwest. Like you couldn't be a cow baron without the railroads taking the meat back to New York and to Philadelphia, to the East Coast, and then distributing it down. So I feel like this is that. And with it, like Attention Live, like what you guys are doing, right? That audio is part of that system, right? So how do we agree on
I rarely
terms?
talk about Attention Live because this is a different environment, but we build Web3 infrastructure for podcasters specifically.
Yeah, that's audio. That's super important, right? Audio is part of our daily lives. How is that being connected? How is it being collected? How is it being stored? And how does it become infinite, right? It's already immutable. How does it become infinite? And I think that's important, right? I think that we need to be able to look at things 1,000 years from now that happen today and know that they happened, trust that they happened. And then we could begin transacting in ways that go beyond a MetaMask wallet, right? So I think that's what I'm hoping to get out of this year is to connect with the people that are like-minded and thinking about building that infrastructure. I also want to go to some cool parties.
As you should.
There are going to be some amazing. I've been collecting NFTs through the ups and downs, you know.
Right.
And
You
so
get all
it's-
sorts of access.
It's
now.
nice to have some cool access, you know.
The
Can't wait to-
Cyberbrokers party is tonight.
Cyberbrokers, shout out Josie. Got to shout out Josie.
I interviewed Josie from Times Square a few days ago. That was pretty fun.
yeah.
She was in Chicago, but I was in Times Square.
Remember 2019? When her
Dude,
she had
she
this
had her
little
po-
booth. She had a little
It
booth.
wasn't even really a booth.
No, it wasn't. It was a
She hadn't
table.
even made an NFT. That was like 6 months before her first NFT. She was just a
Wow.
crypto artist at that point.
Yeah, and she had the art. It was the physical
Right.
art. And then, like, you look at her now, like leading the Cyberbrokers brand.
Right.
You know, that's such a great success story.
Yeah. So Gabe was just up here. You and Gabe were part of a panel.
Yeah.
And you guys are talking at the town hall on Wednesday.
Yes.
So why don't you share a bit about what do you hope to communicate as part of that panel?
Yeah, it's we're talking about the future utility of NFTs, right? So like, I think about, and this is what I think about a lot. Like, I've been thinking about it, as you know, since 2014, right? Like, how do each of us own our identity? What is our identity? How is it connected to the space? How is it connected to the world?
Yeah.
Do objects have identity? Do events have identity? Do memories have identity? How do you connect them into this system?
Right.
And so, you know, NFTs, the brand, which has been created by artists. When you say an NFT to somebody, they think about this digital piece of art you
Right.
could trade, right? But non-fungible tokens, like things that represent things that are unique in the universe, are going to be the tool for us to keep history alive
Yeah.
and to begin to trust each other
Right.
and to be able to trust that what we're seeing is true through consensus.
Yeah.
And so when I look at today's world and what I love about blockchain is it's given us transparency and ownership.
Yeah.
So we trust that this wallet if I go to Etherscan, I'm like, oh, there's the wallet. You can even see how much ETH is in that wallet, right? Someone's like, I got 1,000 ETH to spend. And you're like, well, no, bro, you got like $10.
Right.
You know, you could, it's that level of transparency, right? Like in the world. And then you have ownership. So you know who owns things and you could transfer things back and forth. We've shown that we could do that in a transparent way.
Right.
Whereas what happens in banking, you don't know what happens, right? We kind of hope that somebody reports something at one time. So there is a level of transparency.
Right.
It has increased ownership. But there needs to be trust. And so we need systems at scale that become trusted. And I would say system at scale that is trusted. And it has to be that thing. Maybe it's Ethereum, probably is Ethereum. But we'll find out as we build through this what that system of trust is going to be.
Ideally systems, right? The more you centralize, the better, I think.
Well, I think you could have decentralized power in a centralized system, right? You have to have trust. If you're too scattered, who do you know who to trust? Do you trust everybody? Or do you trust this thing that is decentralized and powered by decentralization, but that also empowers decentralization? Like, for example, like we're launching a utility token for Asaya. That's going to empower you to build what you want to build in your own world, decentralized way. And you're using your token gives you access to our technology. That's it. We want everybody to use it. We're not trying to say, hey, you can only use it if you're our customer, nobody else can use it. So you're decentralizing your software and you're empowering people to use it to build whatever it is they want to build in their own ecosystem, powered by their own stake in it. So when you have these utility tokens that are part of a system, you're encouraged to build, you're encouraged to grow, and if you go out and build the next Airbnb, and I build mcdickles.organization.whatever that sucks, you've just helped me.
Yes.
But mine might have worked, and it would have helped you. So now we're decentralizing power within the system, and we're creating a sense of community around it. So I think that when if there is a system that is, hopefully part us, part you, part this, but we have a common language that we're speaking. We have a common platform that we're bringing to the world. And everyone is empowered to build in that system and to create their own wealth and create their own power and create their own systems. That's how I think the future is going to work. And that's why I think when everything at the basis of it is non-fungible tokens, we get to ask you, well, how would you use a non-fungible token? Not, hey, if you want to use a non-fungible token, we're going to charge you $50,000 a month, and we're going to charge you this much, it's going to be cost prohibitive. We're saying, no, buy 100,000 tokens and stake them, and that's it. You don't pay us again. go build what you're building because we believe in the power, the multiplied power of the creatives and the builders to build what they have to build.
Yes. So here's the final thing I'm gonna have you do. I'm gonna step out of the frame, let you look at the camera. I just let Abraham pitch his fund, right? He's investing, and I believe SIO is raising. So I'll give you 30, 60 seconds just to pitch, a high-level pitch of what is SIO specific to an investor that may be interested in deploying capital. So take it away.
Well, thanks, Ian. So at SIO, we recognize the problem of no common language, as you've heard. We've realized that as tokens are being created and burned, recreated across chain, it's losing its provenance. That you lose the tracking of royalties, you lose the tracking of artists, information, and IDs as you go from Etherscan to Polyscan. So what we've created is a tool that we call a SIO Trace that doesn't lose any of that data. Our CTO, Ryan Quick, who architected this, has architected massive systems at eBay and PayPal and solved microtransaction problems at the scale of enterprise and global. And so we've built this to solve this problem of losing metadata attached to digital assets at scale. So if that's a problem for you, if you look at what you're doing and you're like, well, we're doing something else, but we could really use that, we'd love to talk to you. You could email me directly, Raymond, R-A-Y-M-O-N-D, at esaiyo, ESAIYO.com. Or if you're an investor that believes in that, we're currently raising our seed round. We've been bootstrapped and friends and family till now, and we'd love to have you on board. Thank you so much. Once again, Raymond St. Martin, and it's Raymond, R-A-Y-M-O-N-D, at esaiyo, ESAIYO.com. Peace. Hope to see you at the parties.
Yeah, it was. All right. Well, I'm not done. I'm not done yet. I still got more coming. Don't leave. Don't leave. I'm bringing up Madeline. So I'm just going to grab some of our speakers and allow them to introduce themselves to you and tell you about what they have coming. Madeline, why don't you come on up? All right, Madeline, I'm going to hand this to you.
I'll take this one. Hi, how are you?
All right.
Thanks
So
for having me.
this is the NFT.NYC YouTube page.
Okay.
And so we're live. So say hi to all the party people.
Hey, party people.
But they're
Happy
just going to
be
listen
here.
to our conversation. That's
Okay.
more natural, right?
Sure,
So
I
I just
agree.
met you. Thank you for coming to be one of our speakers.
Yes,
And
thank
you're
you
with
for having me.
Bamboo Seas?
Yeah.
Okay. So why don't you tell us a bit of your backstory and a bit about your company, and then we could talk about what you're going to
Yeah, sure.
be speaking about at the event
Yeah.
this year.
So my name is Madeline. I'm the founder of Bamboo Scenes, and we started our company back in 2017. What we're
Okay.
doing is we're focusing on photography art. So we're curating photography art, and the focus is on local artists.
Okay.
So we've been working with really amazing local photography artists in Hong Kong. We're showcasing their worlds. We
Is that
started
where you're
off,
based, is in Hong Kong?
At the moment, yes.
Okay, got it.
But I'm also here to see what the opportunities are here
Yeah.
in New York, which has been really
Right.
good. But yeah, we've been focusing in the beginning, 2017, more on fine art photography prints. So we've been selling to over 50 countries. But
Okay.
we've also been seeing a lot of our artists have been getting more and more into NFTs and selling their art as NFTs. And that's been really interesting. So we ourselves as well started curating NFT exhibitions, not in the physical world only, but we actually started creating them in the metaverse. And that's
Okay.
been a really, really cool and awesome experience.
That
and
is.
good to see what can be done with photography art or art in general and how it can evolve.
So what's your take on photography art
Yeah.
as one of ones with commercial and or non-commercial right, as one of 10, one of 1,000? Like,
Yeah.
how do you see utility and scarcity, and how do you and your company kind of guide
Yeah.
these photography artists into making the best decisions for them and
Yeah.
their collectors?
I think it's a great question. I think in general, I mean, how many additions you want to give to an artwork really depends as well on the background of the artist, as well as their own personal preference. I
Right.
mean, you can make it out of a 101 because you think it's a 101, but if you think it's a 1 out of 10, it becomes a 1 out of 10. So in the
Yes.
end, it doesn't really matter. I do think, and especially with NFT, what is really interesting is the more additions you make, the larger your community can become as well.
Yes.
Which is also one of the reasons why some of our artists have gone for 101s, and some of them have said, you know what, we're going for 1 out of 10s because we can create a bigger audience for the work that we're creating. So overall, I think utilities is something that is personally I find it very interesting within art NFTs as well.
Yeah.
You obviously see it a lot in PFPs, and it's all about the roadmap and about the utility.
Right.
But I also think with art, there's an amazing opportunity to go away from, let's say, a traditional way of how we sold art, which is, I mean, you sell the art and that kind of there's where it stops. And now you have an opportunity with your art to actually create that community by actually creating utility. So people will not only buy into the artist, they will also really buy into the story and what it can be further in their roadmap, if you want to call it that way. So I do think there is a big change happening within the traditional art world, which then obviously also affects the traditional fine art photography world. And I think it's very exciting.
So there's 10 stages, 7 buildings, a lot of competition for people's attention. We're so honored to have you be a part of this speaking schedule.
You're too kind.
But please tell people, when are you talking? If you know the location, let us know when that is. And then why don't you tell me a bit about what is the topic? Is it an individual talk or a panel? Give me a little insight into what's to come.
Tomorrow, if you are around, Tuesday, I will be speaking at the Marriott, 12:45 p.m.
Here we are at the Marriott.
So I'm just going to stay here until
This
tomorrow.
is where the big
I'm probably
show's
going to
at.
sleep there in the corner just to be ready and to be on time. So I'm going to be part of a panel. So I'm going to lead a panel discussion where we're going to have a few really amazing artists, actually, photography artists, who are going to share their story. And together we're going to talk about the future of photography and NFT. And the question basically is this going to be the year of photography and NFTs?
Well, I believe it is.
Well, come tomorrow.
I'm asking a selfish question.
Oh, please do.
What do you think about time lapses as NFTs? The reason why it's selfish is I have captured like 20 terabytes
Okay, that's quite a bit.
time lapses in the last decade.
Yeah.
So I have like hundreds of thousands of time lapses, and they're really cool. I like them.
Yeah, I'm sure I like them too. You can
And
share them.
I sat down with Alex at OpenSea. I'm like, what do I do? I think I should do like a 10,000 time lapse. And he's like, well, you'd be the first. I'm like, well, then I'm not in a rush. So photography art is one thing. Video obviously is a lot of bandwidth. Videos can get really large. But what do you think about things that are just a little expansion on top of photography art, like a 10 or 30-second time lapse, things of that nature in terms of collectability and engagement with an audience?
I mean, I think it's a great thing that you mentioned that, because not only, as we mentioned before, is that there's an opportunity with utilities to create a community, and of course something that can happen in every type of form of art. But now as well with photography, I am personally a big believer, okay, what can we actually do in order to evolve photography as an art form? It's now a static experience. Can we not make it into a more dynamic experience? And whether that's your time lapse or another way to actually see how you can evolve from a static experience, especially when you're thinking of the things that we've done before. I mean, you have a fine art photography print. You can't really make that into something. I mean, of course, there's tools, you can go with AI and then you have to download an app, and it's just not as comfortable. Whereas right now, you're actually able to create these dynamic experiences. So, yeah, I actually think it's awesome. I mean, of course, depending on the quality, but I'm pretty sure you're very talented, and I would love to see your time lapses.
That's a kind assumption.
I'm pretty sure, otherwise you wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
But I think, yes, definitely, this is an opportunity for photography art to evolve and to not stay the way it is right now. Of course, there's definitely a space for static photography. I think that's always something very powerful and strong, because you can create the story yourself.
Yes.
But why not make it into a dynamic experience? Why not go and almost go closer towards videography and photography? I mean, often amazing photographers, also amazing videographers. So there's definitely something that can be done. And I am very interested to not only see the utility and the community around photography, but also the way we can experience photography. Because just a static experience, at some point, we want more and we want to see more. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for
so glad you're
questions.
here. And I think your panel is going to be amazing tomorrow. So congratulations in advance
Thank you
of
so much
having
for having
an
me.
amazing panel tomorrow.
Thank you.
Okay.
You like
Just like, this is live streaming. This is how we just kicking
I
lights
know.
out of the way.
You did it very very elegant, you're like, God damn it.
Yeah, just grab that thing and shove it away. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, really great.
Okay, great to meet you.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Hope it was okay.
Don't leave me now. I got more people coming. Are we ready? So here we go. We just one after another. Hi there.
Hi, Ian. I'm Elsie.
Hi, Elsie. Nice to meet you. I'm
going
gonna hand this microphone to you. You can bring it close so the people can
This
hear
close?
you.
Okay.
And that's good, right here. And this is our NFT.NYC YouTube page. We're live.
Cool. Oh, we're live. Great.
live.
Hi. Anyone watching?
and welcome to the party.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. I love this party.
So even though there might be people watching now, and of course an archive, but it's a chance for me to get to know some of the people at the event.
Absolutely,
Say hi.
yes.
So
Nice to
why don't
meet
you
you.
introduce yourself to me? Let me know a bit about who you are and what you do and what brought you here.
Yes, so I'm LC Cole, just the letters LC. I'm a blockchain attorney, so that's what I'm
Okay.
doing here. Some of my clients are here. I want to see them talk or,
And you're a
just
speaker.
connect with them. I'm not speaking at this event,
Okay.
but I'm speaking at VIP NFT, which is today,
Okay.
a pre-event.
Yeah.
And then I'll be speaking at a couple of the satellite events here. I applied too late to speak, but hopefully, next
We
year.
missed out.
Yeah, that's
The
on
community
me. That's
missed
on me.
out. We dropped the ball.
But yeah, so I'm here just doing, what I do, which is like networking with my clients, supporting my clients, and talking at different events on the legal implications of Web3 projects that runs from IP issues to blockchain, structuring issues, the corporate architecture behind it, what kind of jurisdiction you're going to be in, and then most importantly and excitedly, SEC issues. So that's the biggest thing that I think people have trouble navigating, and that's really what our clients come in for.
Some people are very resistant to anything having to do with regulations, and others
naturally.
are really welcoming it. They think it's what's most important for the next phase of growth.
Correct.
So where do you land, and how can people that are super extreme on one side or the other, no regulation ever, it's evil, it's centralized, everything should be regulated, it's what's best, it protects people. So if those are the two most extremes, how do people have a balanced view when it comes to regulation and the law and all the things that you and your peers might be consulting people on how to do?
So I think there's a happy medium because none of us love being regulated, but the governments come in to protect. At the very lowest, there's a baseline of what they're trying to protect against, which is scams. And we've seen scams happen. There's rug pulls out there. There's bad actors out there. In any industry, there's going to be bad actors. So the government isn't here to crush your dreams.
Right.
But they're also not efficient. So what regulations do come aren't great.
Yeah.
But they're a baseline starting point. And where we're at in this space now, it's better to have something to work with than to keep working in this gray area. So I think looking forward naturally, I love the decentralized nature of where we're at with blockchain. And I hope that the government sees the value of that and doesn't try and over-regulate it. But even still, they're going to have to come in and have an opinion because that's what the government does. They come in with strong opinions and strong plans for how to navigate whatever innovative technology is out there. And that's what we're going to see eventually. And by that time, hopefully, we've been so proactive in the space. We've got the Blockchain Association in DC working night and day with these senators and congressmen to get good legislation because the name of the game is good legislation, not good litigation. Because once you litigate an issue, when you have an adjudicated issue, that's bad law because you have uneducated judges that aren't in the space making decisions that are precedential. Whereas if we can get ahead of it and regulate proactively, that's thought leaders in the space, creating and enacting and moving the ball forward.
Right.
So that's a better approach. Government's inevitable. So I get that you don't want it. None of us want it. But it's inevitable, and this is where we are. And if your project is here in this jurisdiction, you've got to acknowledge it. And hopefully you can be proactive and work with them. Yeah.
So maybe my final question, who do you listen to? Who would be thought leaders in all things regarding law and regulations that you think, hey, if you're looking for insights, here's a great person that's writing, papers on this or blogging or doing YouTube videos or speaking, who would be thought leaders in your mind that other folks might want to lean into?
Yeah, so Jake Chervinsky's got a great stronghold in the space. Jacob Robinson's got a podcast. Perrianne Boring is at the forefront. She speaks at Permissionless. She was in Austin at Consensus. She's got such a good pulse of what's happening in the space. Then there's Drew Hinkes, who's just a star, an all-star in this space. And then, I mean, you can follow me. I don't post too much because I'm kind of in the weeds. I'm not like a thought
And it's
leader,
LC.
but I'm LC, but I'm Learned Chaos on
Okay.
any social media.
Learned chaos.
Learned Chaos.
Okay.
It's really a lifestyle.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming
Yeah,
and
thanks for
jumping
having me.
into this.
Yeah. Hi,
Sorry
everybody.
the guys didn't tell you that we were live.
It's okay.
Surprise.
You go with it on the fly. This is great. Thanks for doing this, and
Yeah.
I can't wait for the rest of this week. It's
Yeah,
gonna
we're
be
so
great.
happy to have you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for being a part of it.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, everybody. Don't leave now. I believe I have somebody else coming. But I just have to let them know that I'm ready for the next victim. So give me just one moment. Is there anybody else?
This is Carl. He said he was coming to meet you.
He needs to meet you.
Yeah. I'm going to wrap up. Ted. I'm going to wrap up. Get ready to turn it off. I'll give you the sign. Hold on. Okay, party people. I was wrong. There's no one else waiting. And that's okay, because apparently I have somebody that I scheduled a meeting with, and it's time to be faithful to that. So, I will be back with another live stream very soon, and it'll likely be at our VIP speaking dinner tonight. And so you'll see that happen in the next several hours, and I look forward to bringing you more of the glorious goodness happening here in Times Square, New York at NFT.NYC 2022. And until then, have a happy, happy day.